let me start by saying this. If there's a tree that falls in the forest and no one hears it, does it make a sound? And I actually move that to the internet and say, if you have great content on your club or business and it can't be found, does it succeed, or do people even know it exists? So this session's all about SEO and how to set your club, set your business, set your website, whatever it is you want to get attention for. How do we actually get position on that? This is interesting because Serial Entrepreneur Club hit the top spot on Google, number one, in about 30 days. And I was just fascinated by that term hadn't been used by anyone else, and that we were able to launch it a month ago, build a website with serialentrepreneur.club, and we were able to hit the top spot on Google. And I'm so excited because we have Dennis Yu on today, and that's
What's up, everybody?
We have Tevin, and he is the other genius in the room. And I know George is a genius in his own right, so we'll leave it at that. But we also have Rachel, who's our blogger and co-host. We have Jeffrey Sass, and he is the author of a book around marketing, and he's also the CMO of .club and paw.com. And then we have our lead moderator, Michelle Van Tilburg. So I'm going to move it over to Rachel for the Rachel recap, and then Michelle, you take it after that.
Hey guys, everyone. Last week, we talked to Meowington CEO, our very own Michelle Van Tilburg, about her 1.4 million following on Meowington's club. And we also had Ed Nussbaum. We talked to him about his activity here on Clubhouse with his various clubs, Talk, OG, Community, etc., and his work with the Grand Canyons Trails Association. Check it out at se.club, serialentrepreneur.club. Remember, we're kind in this club, and no pitching, no plugging, no selling. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I think this is an exciting, and it's going to be a very informative and educational session. We're going to go until 3 o'clock, the top of the hour. So we want to be, very respectful and give our experts time so that we can quickly roll into questions from our audience. So without further ado, I'll make a brief introduction. We have Dennis Yu. Dennis is the former Yahoo search engineer. So you're talking to the OG here, my friends. This gentleman knows SEO, and he's going to give us the real details on what we need to do for our SEO strategy. We also have the new and very innovative Tevin Johnson. He's going to tell us what he's doing now and what's actually working for him in that environment. So without further ado, I'd like to do a quick kind of rapid set of questions for our two experts in the room, Tevin and Dennis, and then we can get on to our, audience questions. So the first question is this. All right, I think I'm hoping, let's go with the premise that everyone agrees that SEO is important for anyone in e-commerce or nonprofit for that matter. So first, let's start with Dennis. What would you say are the top 3 SEO must-dos? If you just had to say, do these 3 things, what would they be?
Interview other people that are high authority. Get those interviews onto websites that are highly trafficked by the audience that you want. Run ads against those pieces of content that you distribute on social and every other channel.
I love that, Dennis. Thank you. All right, Tevin, you're up. What is your top tips right now that people could do to get SEO?
Number 1 would be to enrich your website. with keyword optimized content. Google hates thin websites, so I'd recommend minimum 40,000 words on your website if you're looking to rank for a high niche keyword. Two, I would recommend that your title tags are properly optimized. And three, I'd say make sure your meta descriptions are properly optimized as well. So 3 to-dos right out the gate. I'd say focus on your content, focus on your title tags, and focus on your meta descriptions.
All right, excellent. I love this. Okay, so we said must-dos. All right, so what are the 3 killers? What are 3 things that we should not be doing? Dennis.
I could list 20. But first off, don't hire anyone to do SEO unless you understand what you're doing and how to do it yourself. 2 is to think that a technical trick is going to be able to fool someone like me at a search engine, because we can see through a lot of the on-site optimization. We can see through link buying. We can see through these exchanges. And 3 is just, it's kind of like the thing that you don't do is the opposite of what you do. You've got to build relationships. The focus is on relationships and not on automation or tools. Tevin is a pro at on-site optimization, like the things you do with tags and the content that you have on the site. But ultimately, in the long run, to drive real traffic, I don't mean just ranking on certain long tail keywords, like low competition keywords, but to rank on high power keywords, you've got to generate real links. And to do that, you've got to focus on relationships. You have to focus on things that are not easily done by robots or tools or spammers. So without going too far into the weeds on detail, when you have high domain authority links, so when I was on CNN and they asked me questions about Mark Zuckerberg and Cambridge Analytica, that is what a DR 95 plus link. So whenever you get major media, whenever you get people that are super high authority to link to you, that is a very strong signal if you want to rank on important keywords. If you're just trying to rank on really niche e-commerce terms that aren't competitive, if you're a Kansas City real estate agent, which is medium competition, you don't need that level of power. But consider who you are competing against. Look at their link profiles and where they're getting their links from. And you basically just have to follow what's working for them and don't do the dumb things like buy links, use bad software. We audit so many sites and we've got to remove these toxic domains like SEMrush, one of my favorite tools, even have a 7-day free trial. We'll show you what those toxic links are. And then you have to do things like submit a disavow request to Google. So it's mainly just don't do dumb things. Like understand that SEO is about good content that deserves to rank, that lives on sites that Google believes are high authority. If you do that, all this other stuff is going to fall in place for you.
That's amazing, Dennis. I like what you're saying, and I think I just actually learned something myself about disavow. And I hear you reiterating who we keep company with matters. So who's linking to us and who we're linking to us makes a big difference. Thank you for that. Now, Tevin, what are the 3 do nots, the killers?
Man, Dennis, it feels like I'm talking to myself when I hear you speak, brother. You're absolutely right. Backlinks are king. Just make sure they're evergreen backlinks, like he mentioned. The 3 killers are definitely going to be keyword over optimization on your anchor text. So if you do go out and get backlinks, just make sure you're not over optimizing using the exact match anchor text that you're looking to rank for. Google will hit you with an over optimization penalty. It's just not organic. So spread out your keyword anchor text. Use tools like lsigraph.com. Paste in your anchor text your root keyword that you're looking to rank for, and it'll give you lots of different anchor text to use, long tail keywords. These are called latent semantic index keywords. The algorithm goes crazy over them, and it just looks more organic and evergreen in the eyes of Googlebot. The second killer is going to be over optimization on page. So you never want to layer in the exact match keyword 20, 30% on the page. That is an over optimization penalty. You'll get hit pretty hard. And then the third killer, I'd say, is just having too thin of a website. I mean, I can't tell you how many clients I analyze and their website is under 2,000 words and they want to rank against a competitor that has a site of 30, 40,000 words. So, top 3 killers, I'd say over optimization on your anchor text, when it comes to backlinks, over optimization on page when it comes to keyword density, and then of course having too thin of a website.
Yeah,
Dude, that's a pro speaking right there.
for sure. Okay, so just to reset the room, we have two experts amidst us. Tevin Jackson, who's the new school, he's telling us about what actually works for SEO best practices. Without getting overly complicated, he's giving us some good sound advice around content, specifically not too little, not too much of anything, natural, right? I think, Tevin, what I'm hearing is a very natural theme for you in terms of what works for content.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. I didn't just, learn this in the late 2000s. I actually started early 2000s in Dennis Yu's time. So my uncle he owns the largest lead generation platform for the dumpster rental industry. I probably built 30, 40,000 pages and ranked them myself. So, a lot of the old school tactics, they still work. It's just Google shifted to a more quality over quantity. So it's better to get 20 of the strongest backlinks you can get versus 200 low-grade backlinks. It's going to have more power. Your domain rank is going to go higher. They're passing link juice to your website. So think of like a Forbes.com. If you get a Forbes.com, you're a notable person. If you can get them to link to your site, it's going to pass tremendous authority in the eyes of Googlebot and Bing and other search engines, and you will see rank boost because your competition, they don't have that link. So SEO is all about reputation.
All right, excellent. Which leads us very nicely to Dennis. Dennis, we're going to call you the OG. You're the original. You're a Yahoo search engine engineer. If I could paraphrase what you're saying and correct me if I'm wrong and supplement, you're very strongly bullish, let's just say, towards authority and making sure that you have other authoritative resources linking to you. If you could comment about that further.
Michelle, that's a good point. Think of it this way, okay? What most people are doing, what most businesses are doing is they're trying to trick us. And they're using these different techniques. You hear people saying, use this kind of anchor text, have this kind of link velocity, have blog posts that are 750 words. You hear and some of this advice is good and whatnot, but if you really want to win at the world of SEO, you have to look at it from the search engine's point of view. You see what I mean? So instead of trying to trick us, I would go to these conferences and for whatever reason, these SEO people, I'm sure Tevin knows, they have this big attitude. They think that they're really, really sharp, and they come up and they'd say, well, I bet you didn't know that I was able to do triangular linking, or I was able to do this particular way of cloaking that you guys couldn't see. And I'm looking at these guys saying, you have no idea. I have unlimited God power when it comes to SEO in terms of the amount of resources we have to be able to see the things that people are doing. And we're not telling everybody what all of our IP addresses are. We're not telling everybody every single technique that we're looking for, right? So the way to win in SEO is to look at what are the signals that you can send the search engine that are so strong that that basically say that there's no way you could be a spammer. So what are those? Well, links from high-powered media, not some fake entrepreneur Forbes article that you can pay for press release distribution for $100, but something actual. It used to be 10 years ago, the number of unique linking domains was key. And if you had over 100 unique domains that were high authority, not some spam sites that have been around for only a couple months each, but that's a sign because it's something that is hard for a spammer to be able to do. Or having content that gets a lot of traffic. And a lot of sites are using Google Analytics for their analytics. And of course, Google is using that data. Google has something called RankBrain, which a few people sort of know about. And that is when you, let's say, make it onto the first page temporarily for a particular keyword. Google will let you audition the traffic and see how it's, whether the users like it or not. If people click back from the search results, click back to the search results and click down to the next result, that's a penalty for you because it means the user didn't have a good experience. So it's not that you're trying to do things for the search engine, you're actually trying to do things for the user. And for the old time SEO people in here, you guys know that folks like Matt Cutts would say things like, oh yeah, try to always do what's right for the user. Try to create content that actually does deserve to rank for that particular keyword, right? Look at the other guys and see, is your content objectively better? If it's not, then it's not going to last, because RankBrain is going to temporarily audition you at a, spot 15 or whatever. It doesn't work, and then push you down to wherever your previous position is. So ultimately, if you don't take care of the users, then you're going to get pushed down, and Google is getting better and better at approximating what the user wants. So don't think of it as you're trying to fool Google. Think of it as Google is representing all these other users. And what we found with SEO that truly works is content that actually gets traffic and creates a natural signature. So a friend of mine owns a company called Etchus, and he has these laser engraving machines. And one of the things that became popular was engraving iPods. Now, Apple, if you buy an iPod, they'll engrave your initials for free or something like that during Christmas. But he did some really cool engraving. And he started featuring these engravings and put them on the site and put them on social. Now, granted, this guy, Scott Zimmerman's a small business owner. He only does a few $100,000 a year, which is a small business owner. Just, him and his wife and this other girl who's in the shop. He does not know a thing about SEO. He doesn't know a thing about how do you rank or building websites or all the stuff that Tevin talks about. He has no idea what any of those words are. Yet, if you do a search for engraved iPods or any search related to that, you're going to see he's right there in like number 2 or number 3 for a medium to high competition term. Is it because he did anything with SEO? No. It's because he put out some cool things, like there's some important people that wanted their iPods engraved in a certain way, and that got some traffic. It got social distribution. He got a few links, not a lot, but a few links here and there in different forums. For example, he has a large community in the Chevy Impala. There's an Impala community where they just really, really like modifying their Impalas and getting together and comparing, and this kind of, these enthusiasts, you understand, there are these enthusiast clubs, and they started getting engravings. They wanted custom things made, and they started to share that. Now, if you look at it from the standpoint of the search engine, if you're Google, you see that traffic. You see it cross between social. You see the anchor text that people are using if they generate links. And it's not that we're having these Impala enthusiasts try to craft, or what Tevin talked about in the OOP, over optimization penalty. It's not that we're trying to avoid that. It's that because it is natural traffic, it's going to come off as natural. Because if all these sites were using the blue anchor text of custom engraving shop, and they all use that exact same term, that would of course look fake. That looks like someone's trying to trick the search engine, right? So I wouldn't worry about those kinds of penalties, because you're not a crook. You're not a thief. You're not trying to cheat the search engine. So it goes back to building connections with the community. And then the piece about SEO that most people don't understand, they could be a great business owner, they could be providing a fantastic product or service, is look at the domain authority of any of these particular sites, and say if they're above 20 or 30, that's pretty awesome, right? I did a search on Serial Entrepreneur, which is what we talked about at the beginning of this room, and I see that entrepreneur.com, of course, is there, and some other friends like Gary Henderson, his site digitalmarketing.org is there, I think at number 3 or number 4. And why is that there? Because he's got an article on that. Because the page level authority of that page is reasonably high, and the domain authority is reasonably high, and it's relevant to that particular topic. So it all goes back to those same fundamentals. It's the same stuff that we've been saying for the last 20 years. And authority ultimately is, a lot of people don't understand this concept of authority, and there's different ways of defining it. But the way I define it from a search engine standpoint is, who is saying it, where is it being said, and what is being said. And we have a 30-point authority score, so 10 points on each of these 3 components of authority, to see, of all the content we have, which ones are the most powerful, which then we need to amplify and create more content like that. So if I've got, for example, I've got a number of articles on the Washington Post, right, which is a high power magazine. And they've interviewed me multiple times on what is the future of Facebook and should the government regulate them? And, how did the Russians use ads to try to manipulate the election? And so I saw that that was giving me a lot of link power. And thus I thought, okay, from an SEO standpoint, I want more link juice like that, right? I want high power sites to link to me. So then that reporter, I would send them some socks with their faces on them. I would text them once in a while and say, hey, this latest thing happened to Facebook. Are you guys interested in covering it? Or something like that. And since then, I think I've gotten 5 mentions in the Washington Post, right? Would you consider that an SEO tactic or a smart PR tactic or a smart relationship? And, how would you guys look at that? And that's actually, if you understand that true SEO, not all this spammy, let me use these tools, try to trick you, black magic, witchcraft. If you understand that true SEO, like actual powerful SEO, is about building relationships with other people who talk about you and post that content on a high authority site. And there's different ways so you could use Ahrefs or Majestic or Moz or SEMrush. SEMrush is my favorite as an all-around tool. And Google used to have this thing. They had this thing called PageRank, and they had this toolbar PageRank, which they killed, unfortunately, 10 years ago. And I think my site was a 7, which is off the charts powerful, right? Basically a 70 domain rank or domain authority. I collected all this authority because I was in the media so often. I spoke on stages, and that gave me a ton of authority. When Facebook launched their ads platform in 2007, and if you did a search on Google for Facebook advertising, I was ranked number 2. Number 1 was facebook.com/ads. So I'm not exactly going to beat them on their own. You're not going to beat Facebook on your own unless you somehow can tunnel into their site and take it over or something like that. But let me ask you this, then this will reframe this whole idea of what SEO is. Did I do any SEO, in parentheses, to rank on the term Facebook advertising, which is super competitive? And arguably the answer is no. All I did was I shared my best knowledge. Other people thought that was amazing. So then I got on these podcasts, and I got on TV, and I got on radio and this kind of thing. And other bloggers would link to my stuff, and people like Social Media Examiner would reach out to me. So then I'm happy to write articles I've written tons of articles for them about various sorts of things. And then other people linked to those articles that I wrote because they were decent articles. And then the articles that linked to the articles I wrote then linked to me. And so I accumulated a ton of link juice. But let me tell you, I never once thought about over optimization penalties. I never once thought about trying to do SEO to rank for that keyword. All I was doing was focusing on, all right, for real estate agents trying to do stuff with Facebook, what do they need to know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For e-commerce, where they're trying to figure out how to do their ads, what kind of content do they need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I was literally just putting out this massive library of content and then letting the community share that and create such a strong signal that when the search engine sees that, they see, holy crap, this Dennis guy is creating lots and lots of great content around Facebook ads and analytics and whatever, that he probably should deserve to rank. And it wasn't that my site deserved to rank. It was that the content that I put on this is more of like a pro level thing. The content that I put on other people's website, I prefer putting content on other people's I'm sure Tevin would agree with this. I would rather put content on, digitalmarketer.com or Social Media Examiner or Fiverr.com. I'd rather put my content on those sites because people are going to more likely see it. Those sites are already ranking better because those guys have such high domain authority that even if their content's not quite as good as a blog post on my site, they're going to win because Google sees those sites as higher authority. So they kind of get an extra bump, if you know what I mean. So you can see that to truly rank, to have true SEO power, high authority is where it's being said, who's saying it, and what is it about. And when you do that, there's no difference between SEO and high-level PR and community building and relationships and social media. Like, they're all the same thing. You guys follow me? I want you guys to understand that part, not this technical SEO witchcraft stuff.
Right. It's really great And I love that you're introducing this, shift in thinking that we should think of PR actually and the ROI implications specifically linked to SEO. I know a lot of companies struggle with that. So that's really quite brilliant to wrap those together. Thank you, Dennis.
Look at the power that we have in this room, Michelle, right? Look at Colin and his relationships with folks like George, for example. If you guys interview each other and turn them into blog posts, if you take social content like what we have here inside Clubhouse, which Google can't see, or most of the Facebook posts or LinkedIn posts, which Google can't see, and we literally turn those into blog posts, and we link between each other in a non-spammy kind of way, that's the easiest low-hanging fruit. That the most white hat means it's okay, black hat means you're trying to cheat Google. It is the most white hat way of driving great search results. And thus, if you think about who your relationships are, try to elevate these folks, not in a fake kind of way. But George Verdugo has done some amazing things for me. He helped out a friend of mine who had a double DUI, had no place to stay, and housed him for a week, brought him to court, took care of all these different things. And the reason, part of the reason he did that, he did nice things for me. I did some nice things for him where he came out to our 3-day workshop, right? And we helped him with social media and Facebook ads and websites and things like that. And I'm happy to honor him because of what he's done for me and vice versa, right? The reason I'm in this room is because George invited me, right? So I honor that. And we're doing SEO. By honoring my relationships, I'm doing SEO. I want you to reframe what SEO means in that way.
Fantastic. I love the concept of playing it forward. So Tevin, let's jump over to you. And then I'd like to have the audience here jump up and ask questions as well as those on the stage. So Tevin, you're our new school authority here. Like, what is the most impactful changes that we can leverage that have happened in SEO? Let's just say over the last few years.
So I've been doing SEO since 2007. So, I mean, if that's new school, I'll take it, Michelle.
You're an old guy.
So I love what Dennis Yu was saying about domain authority stacking. One thing we did is we created high-level infographics, and then our link building team actually reached out to news channels. So every news website has an email for their blog or for their education portion of their website. And if you create a really high-quality infographic themed around something that they'll want to post, a lot of the times you will get them to post it and link back to your website with a branded link. And this is some of the most, some of the highest authority websites out there. I mean, Channel 9 News, right? Orlando, very high domain rank. So if I get them to post an infographic about global warming and they link back to my website, I can then use that to get more news websites to link back to me. And you're building in basically essentially a wall of trust in the eyes of Google. So I love what Dennis said in regards to the evergreen backlinking. You should never go out and buy your backlinks and think you're not going to get caught. You will get caught if you do it incorrectly. I can promise you that. And at the end of the day, that is black hat. It's not evergreen. Focus on the PR side of things, and you will get the results you're looking for. Absolutely.
Does that include social media? We hear a lot that social media links in.
No, social media, you can get unlimited Twitter links, Facebook links, Instagram links. That's not going to affect you. It's when you start to manipulate anchor text to try to outrank competition. You will, if you do it incorrectly. I mean, I'm talking about the majority of people. You will get caught. Google's constantly progressing their algorithm. I mean, just look at the December algorithm update. Tons of websites got crushed during that algorithm update. Look at Panda Penguin algorithm update, years back. That crushed websites, right, that were doing this gray hat, black hat crap. So, really focus on evergreen and you'll be there essentially regardless of the algorithm update. You're always going to be on the first page.
Excellent. So let's reset the room. First, everyone, just a reminder that we do this room every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We're trying to do a format that's, educational and very informative. So we have two formative experts here. Dennis, a Yahoo search engine engineer expert extraordinaire. Tevin is our new school person who's an expert on the grounds, figuring out and knowing what works. So let's put it to the audience, and everyone remember to follow our speakers and those others in the room so that we can actually help each other rise up in this clubhouse SEO, so to speak, algorithm. So does anyone have a question? I see one question from AJ Martin.
Hey, we just need
Hey,
AJ or
Amor.
anyone to state that they agree to the recording. Thank you.
First, yeah, I see AJ has a cat. We love cats here. So go ahead, AJ.
Sure. Just wanted to see if you all were speaking at all about the Google practice of your, I can't remember the exact term of it now, but when your page is selected as the one that answers a specific question, it's at the top before the
Snippet
organic rankings in the snippet.
Yeah,
Is Google
snippet.
continuing the snippets in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. You just have to implement schema. If you implement schema on your website, you have a better chance of getting into the snippet section. If you don't implement schema on your website, you're going to have a really high ranked website, and typically there has to not already be a snippet website there. Otherwise, if you want to take that snippet from them, you better have a schema implemented on your site and have higher quality backlinks.
Are there decent, easy tools to create schema? I know when they first started, there were not.
Yeah, so you can actually go to the actual schema website.
Oh, is
I
it
would just type in-
schema.org? Is it schema.org?
Yep.
Okay. Appreciate it, man.
I had a question. This is Jeffrey up at the top for either Dennis and Tevin, and both of you. Thank you so much for sharing such amazing knowledge. I've been making notes and getting lots of tips, and I look forward to Rachel's recap next week when she tells us all the things we learned. We're here on a voice platform. We're talking to each other. What impact, if any, does voice have in SEO, and what are particular SEO tips when you're sharing voice, like we're recording this podcast, etc.? How does voice impact SEO?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start it off. So voice is absolutely important. You're going to want to get your website loaded into a lot of the voice features out there, like Siri, Amazon Alexa, and there's ways to go about doing this. So definitely very important. And moving forward into the future, I mean, you want to have your website into these tools. Who knows where AI is headed?
That's the best case I've actually heard, Tevin, for enabling Alexa. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we have Marcin. Marcin has a question. Marcin, you're on mute.
Yeah, also Michelle Saeed probably had a question too here in the left-hand corner.
While either of them are getting ready to come on stage or to unmute and ask their question, I will say that, I've done video and voice recordings for the past 10 years or so, and I have consistently provided transcriptions of the voice recordings underneath the voice recording for SEO purposes primarily, but also for user purposes. So I find that if people don't have the time to listen to a recording, or they don't want to listen on, 1.5 speed to try and get through it faster, they can scan the text a lot faster. And then people's names, specific events become searchable by your own site search engine, as well as Google and Bing and others, so that your results rise to the top of the organic listings faster.
Yes. Thank you, Michael. Can you just state you're okay with being recorded?
Yeah, you bet.
And Michael, I think that's a very good point to make. I notice on these very high performing affiliate type videos, they always have the option for transcripts. So really good piece of advice, because we do have a lot of folks here that use voice as their primary medium. Thank you.
You bet. And one additional tip that I just remembered is usually when I take the recording, I like to do my recordings as videos, then I upload them to YouTube. YouTube will create the transcription automatically, but then I will go in and update the transcription because they'll get names and lingo in your industry wrong, and so I'll correct all of that. Usually, I'll just upload my entire transcript if it's if I've done it for the web page, and then have it sync up on YouTube. That way, I know when people go to YouTube to search, which is the #2 search engine in the world, they can find that information faster and better as well.
Excellent. I see we have Syed, SEO guy, in the audience, another SEO expert. Is there anything you want to add to the conversation? And tell us if it's okay if we record you, please.
Yes, it's totally okay. Michelle, I just wanted to add one more thing. Like Tavis shared some really good stuff. So I wanted to talk about the voice search. So like we have been working on a voice search for quite a while, and one thing I would like to add to the keyword research of the voice search method is that just try to just look at it. When you're searching for something on Google and you're actually typing it, it's going to be pretty much different than when you are saying it in Alexa or Siri or something like that. For example, you might type paleo diet for athletes or athletes paleo diet in Google, but when you are just saying it, it might be some more natural language. Like, for example, you would say like, "Hey Siri, so what are the paleo diets ideal for athletes in summer?" Something like that. So like it's so the keyword structure and the length is going to be different. So I would probably work more on those long tail keywords. That's one thing. And then you can actually have a page on your website, an FAQ page specifically for voice search. And how is that going to be different than my other content pieces or other FAQ pages? Is that I would have a shorter version answers for those natural language keyword. So when I'm searching something, when I'm voice searching something, I'm expecting more like a short answer, maybe a paragraph or 2 paragraphs. I won't probably look for maybe 1,000 word or 2,000 word or maybe 5,000 word guide. So these are the two things I would quickly like to add here. And so I would end with a question for the panel, Tavis and Dennis and all these experts that. So like we are kind of convinced, all us SEOs and the marketers, we are kind of convinced that link building is a huge factor, but we obviously don't want to do link building just for the sake of link building. Instead, we probably need to have those high quality, high authority, some links from highly relevant top publication. So let's talk a bit about digital PR. So what kind of digital PR strategies are working for you? And I would be happy to chime in as the conversation goes on.
Thank you for that. Okay, so are there any more questions in the audience?
I have one. I am a big proponent of telling my fellow entrepreneurs not to delegate SEO. Now, what do I mean by that? I actually mean that I actually believe that everyone who runs a business understands their business, and they need to work with an expert, and they need to work with technical people, and they need to get advice from Tevin and Dennis. I absolutely agree with that. But I feel like too many entrepreneurs outsource that, or they delegate it thinking it's a technical thing. But the fact of the matter is, there are so many things that an entrepreneur can do to help make SEO successful. And the most basic of all, and I really would like to get Dennis and Tevin's feedback on this, is even the title tags. What is the space that you want to own? That's not a technical requirement. That's really an entrepreneur deciding, okay, I live in Fort Lauderdale and I want to sell flowers. So therefore, I'm going to set the title tag as flowers in Fort Lauderdale delivered free or something like that. And I actually think that that's a big part of every entrepreneur's journey to success. And it's not a technical thing, although you need technical people to help you implement it. I want your thoughts on that, Dennis and Tevin.
Oh, man. Colin, I would take what you said and put it in 72-point bold font. I would broadcast that everywhere. That is so, so smart. Because SEO, if you boil down what actually happens to rank in search engines, requires goals, content, and targeting. Like you said, the strategy of what is it that you want to rank on, what relationships do you have and knowledge do you have to justify you ranking on that in whatever format. Could be voice search or YouTube, which is a great way. I consider that part of SEO. And so the relationships and the knowledge that you have are something that other people who might be really good technically at SEO can't help you with. They can build your website and make it run faster. They can build applications and do that kind of stuff. But the actual heart of what drives search engine results is your relationships and your knowledge, which you cannot outsource any more than, if you're a husband to a beautiful wife, you can't outsource being a husband. You can't outsource your weight loss program and have someone else work out for you, right? You can have a trainer, you can have someone like Tevin or me advise you, but there's no shortcut to this. And what Colin said is one of the smartest things I've heard in SEO in a long time. And I'd also frame it this way. SEO is not an activity that, by the way, when I say this, it pisses off the people that do SEO for a living. SEO is not something that you do. Just like an MBA isn't, you aren't an MBA. You got an MBA because you went to school and that was your degree, right? But that's not who you are. Search engine optimization is the result, not the activity. The activity is networking or writing articles. Like this room here is going to be turned into an article, I imagine, of some sort, right? The activity is creating content, building relationships, taking care of your customers. The result is SEO. You see what I mean?
Michelle, can I quickly piggyback on what Colin and Dennis said? I totally agree to that. In fact, I see more space in the SEO industry. I see more space for the SEO advisors at different companies instead of just outsourcing SEOs, which, by the way, I also do. But that's what I see it going. But I like it depends on. It depends a lot on the company too. Like, let's talk about enterprises, right? Large enterprises having like literally thousands and thousands and even millions of pages, and have a just forget about the rest of the website. Just talk about the page title. So that's the scale. Beyond that's in my opinion beyond the scale of an entrepreneur, or at least even 1 or 2%. That's probably require a whole team. And also I have been recently working for a few enterprises, and so that's exactly what I wanted to do. So instead of like just doing it over and over again and just the SEO website is all over and just fixing it, we are just, so one thing they can do is just having an SEO SOP for that enterprise which they can follow. So, and what I mean by that is having a policy, a standard operating procedure for giving out backlink, internal linking, and that kind of stuff.
Great advice. Okay, so we are about 12 minutes from finish. Is there anyone in the audience with a question? All right, let's restate and reset the room a bit. We have experts, SEO experts in the room. Dennis Yu, who is a Yahoo search engine engineer expert, and Tevin Jackson, a newer on the scene expert making things happen on a day-to-day basis. So 3 things I'm hearing themes of is quality over quantity.
Yeah, quality over quantity. Ever since Panda Penguin, you always want to have quality backlinks, evergreen backlinks via organic routes, and they can be outreach. It's just you're going to provide them with content that is such high quality that they're going to want to post it, right? That's what you want to go after. And backlinks compound. So if you go out and get 20 news backlinks or 20 association backlinks, they posted your notable infographic or your notable blog post, you can then use that to go out and get other high quality blogs to post about you. And each website has a different webmaster. You're not paying for the links. They love the content. You're providing value to their site, and you're building a orb of influence. And the link juice that is being passed to your site is indisputable. Those websites rank. They have lots of traffic coming to their site, so you're going to get some traffic from their site. And like Dennis mentioned, if it's on a really high authority website, run some paid ads to that post. Get some more traffic. Google loves that.
I love that. I'm going to do that myself. At one of the companies I work with, Meowingtons, we do a lot of blogs. We're always at the top of Shopify blog posts, like always in the top 10%. And it had not occurred to me to run some search ads into that. So I love that idea. I'm going to actually try that. Good practical tips.
And that can be on Facebook and LinkedIn. All good inbound lead sources.
Really good. Love the idea. Okay. And Dennis, we're hearing from you, leverage your meaningful conversations off your site and on your site via blog posts, transcriptions, etc. Did we understand you correctly?
We'll just make it even simpler. All of these websites have a certain amount of juice, if you will, right? And whatever tool you use, SEMrush, Majestic, Ahrefs, Moz, they calculate an approximation of how much juice is being passed from these different links. So all else equal, more links is more juice, but to Tevin's point, higher quality links pass more juice. So I'd rather have a few really high quality links than lots and lots of spammy links that aren't really on topic, that come from questionable sites that have a roundup of random sorts of things like directories. And when I think about the real power of SEO, I'd go back to what Colin had just said a couple minutes ago, which is when you're clear on your strategy and your network and your knowledge, when you create this kind of content, like recording this room and taking some of these top tips and turning them to articles, taking your videos and transcribing them and turning them into blog posts. I'll take my Facebook posts and turn them into blog posts to put on my site, which generates another 30 blog posts per month. That's legit. That's not duplicate content, but it's something that's being seen by Google. I generated an extra 15,000 visits to my own personal site last month just from doing this one piece of repurposing content. Or another thing, I'll offer this to our audience here. Anyone who has a step-by-step process of where they've achieved a result and wants to share that on my blog as it relates to digital marketing, I'm happy to share that for them and give them a DR63 link. So for anyone who does SEO, you know what that's worth, right?
Wow.
I would challenge Colin or George or Tevin to spill the beans on something that has worked for them, that is not just some auto-generated, 10 ways on how to be a successful entrepreneur, vague nonsense, but something very specific where we're showing behind the scenes screenshots of our data or pictures of us doing particular things, something that's so helpful that it deserves to rank on that particular niche. And then as that niche fits into digital marketing, I would be happy to share that because A, it gives my audience great content, because I always want to be a collector of great digital marketing content.
And that's just the power. And that's just the power of Clubhouse. I mean, I'm getting guys with DR63 websites wanting to, link out to us. It's very easy for my American-based content development team to get, some notable, information for him to post based on our back end, over our shoulder view. So absolutely, I appreciate that, Dennis.
So Tevin, for other people that don't know what that means, what is a permanent, high quality, in-text link from a DR63 site worth?
Monetarily, or are we talking like
just roughly estimate what you believe that's worth? Not a paid link, a legit one, and a whole blog post that's based on whatever topic it is that you want, that's well done, that is only one or two links away from the homepage.
Well, I could use that to rank for keywords that will make millions a year. So I'd say it's priceless. I'd say it's worth millions.
Yeah. And all it takes is one link, although obviously you want to have more. And we've done this time and time again.
What I'll do to a website like yourself is I'll do tiered linking, right? Domain authority stacking. So instead of sending more backlinks to my site, I'll send backlinks to your post so I can rank that article in Google for different keywords.
That's what pros do.
This is great. Yeah, I'm learning so much myself, but I just want to introduce someone who just came on the stage. Michael Gilmore is out of Australia. He is one of the world's top domain monetization companies. He specializes literally in rev shares and monetization. Michael, I'm just pulling you up here unexpectedly. What is a DR63 site link that they're, posing? Like, how does that make you feel in your business?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because we don't deal with SEO. We really don't, because all of our traffic comes from domain names. So with domain names, you're looking for natural typing traffic and things like that, and possibly linking and everything, and then we monetize that traffic. So what we don't do is worry about SEO, because any domains that are parked are not actually in Google anyway. So having a page rank of that is like meaningless in terms of that. For me, it's incredibly valuable for other people. For Park Logic, it's an interesting question once again as well, is that we typically know the sort of clients we want to be dealing with. We know who they are, so we're not after volumes of clients. We're after specific clients, which is a different strategy again. Yeah, so it's in terms of a regular business, as Kevin said, it's worth a huge amount of money having a link like that. But for us, we're very different. It's a very different scenario.
Amen.
All right, excellent.
To make things practical, because I know we're almost out of time in this room, and we could talk generically and theoretically about SEO, but I want everyone to get real benefit here. Think about someone that has expertise that you can get on a 5-minute Zoom call, which only takes you 5 minutes. You interview them, or 10 minutes, right? Run that through Descript or Otter.ai or the YouTube API, turn that thing into a blog post, put it on your site or their site, and you've already done something fantastic to SEO on whatever keywords you want to rank on. I see down in the audience my buddy Robert Craven, who is down there like 7 or 8 rows. He's got a black and white. Oh, there he is. And I'll give you an example. So he runs Grow Your Digital Agency. He's spoken on all these other stages. He knows a lot. I've interviewed him. He's interviewed me. We turn these things into blog posts, and that helps us rank on niche keywords, not just on growing your digital agency, but how do you hire staff, and how do you train up a VA, and how do you set up PPC campaigns, and how do you do this, and how do you do that? That's how we're doing SEO, is literally maximizing our relationships, pulling knowledge out of their brains, right? That guy, Robert, knows a lot about digital agencies. So I'm pulling knowledge out of his brain, featuring it. And then I get the benefit of showing that to my community, and he gets the benefit of a nice link from me. You see how that works?
Amazing. Very reciprocal. Okay, we only have a few minutes, but I'd like to give Edna, if you have a few parting thoughts on our conversation, we'd love to hear them.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Colin, for the invite. This is a great topic. And I know so many people ask the question, SEO really does make a difference, and how you do it makes a difference, whether you're going to be ranking with your website and getting that traffic. But one of the biggest questions that follows that is cost, right? Like the cost of doing SEO, and then the time that it takes for you to start seeing those results. And so I think one of the key things would be maybe to give an overview of what that looks like, so that people have a realistic expectation, and see if that can help some folks that have those questions.
Well, what's the cost of building relationships? What's the cost of content marketing? What's the cost of interviewing other people and transcribing those videos? That's the way I'd look at it. What are the activities that you would need to do to share your knowledge? There's no cost of SEO, right? Because SEO is ranking. That's the result. You see what I mean? So break it down into the activities.
Amen, brother. It's a sliding scale. It could be 6 figures a month. It could be thousands, couple thousand a month.
So you're saying that if you take the activities that you're currently doing across your social media platforms and turn those into blogs and then put them on your site, then the cost of doing SEO is really your time and energy and effort put into the work that you're already trying to do anyway. So it'd be organic in a sense.
Amen. 100%. So you're going to be creating content anyway. You're going to be sharing it. You're building relationships. You're flying out to other cities to have dinner with important people. That is, I guess, your SEO cost, but that's what you would do as a business owner. right? George Verdugo and I have hung out in cities all over the place. Is that SEO cost? Not really, but I'm building relationships because I like the guy.
It's been some great practical advice. I know I've picked up some, I think, amazing points that I'm going to immediately act on, as you've said, Dennis and Tevin. Great practical advice. One thing I think of, sometimes, everyone, it's like the easiest job, but yet it's the hardest. It does take a commitment from what we found on some of our websites, but it's well worth it, as Dennis and Tevin have explained. So without further ado, let's talk about next week. So again, thank you for everyone who's attended. We're immensely grateful that you're taking your valuable time to follow us. We're here every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And next week, our topic is going to be Clubhouse. What is working for you and what is not working for you. So it's going to be a very open forum. So everyone who is interested in speaking is welcome. Just be prepared to talk about what's working and what's not so that we can all learn and grow together. So again, thank you so much for your time. We'll be publishing our blog as folks have recommended, George and Tevin here, and look forward to seeing you next week. You can find out more about the topics and the transcripts and blog by going to se.club. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michelle. Have a great
Thank you.
weekend.
Bye-bye.